Us right here on Hashtag Fridays. Remember, this is the show that brings to you the latest and the best in the world of show business, where we literally get to analyze the issues that are affecting the showbiz industry and try and get solutions towards this industry. Now, we've just had the H-Town kids once again joining us for the second time. Karibuni sana. Fantastic. I'm really, really happy that, they could come down again and join us. We always love to have you here. And of course, you're always such a wonderful and bubbly team to have. And so I just want to high five you. Although, we've got the coronavirus, I can see you even have some gloves. You have the, we have the elbow bump. Let's do the elbow bump. Mambo. Anyway, just another one, yeah. So I'm not sure who has the mic right now. I just want to get to find out, how have you guys been since the last time we had you on set? So I'll just talk to your team leader. I'll pick the mic. Thank you very much. And I'll talk to this young, lovely gentleman. Just one question, just to find out, how have you been since the last time we've had you on board? Mumekuaje? Yani life imekuaje manze? Unajua vitu mingi vimehappen tangu ile time hadi saa hii.
Sisi tumeendelea poa na dancing group yetu.
Ndio.
Tumekuwa poa, but sorry, siku hizi wenye watu wapiganga ni mambo ya corona. But hii corona ndio inafanya tukue pamoja.
Ndio.
Inafanya tukue pamoja, but pia ujikinge na si ati
shikilia mic hapa karibu,
ujikinge na si ati kila saa ovyo ovyo unasalimia na ovyo ovyo ati rada mtu ujui. Na pia sanitizer iko toke nayo.
Ushaambiwa hamfai kusalimia watu ovyo ovyo, si ndio? Alafu jambo tu la mwisho tu kabla tujaenda kwa segment nyingine, ni nini ambacho mmekuwa mkifanya hapo katikati? Maana labda mmekuwa mkiperform vitu venyu, nimekuwa nikiona katika social media. Nini mmekuwa mkifanya just to keep yourselves safe from this coronavirus?
Kwa tumekuwa tukifanya
sisi
tunaendanga tuna practice huko, alafu tunaambia tu maboy ama tunaambia watu wako kwa street ati wajiepushe na mambo ya corona. No kikoho siku ati
ndio uweke mkono hivi,
uweke hata tissue, alafu kumaliza uitupe.
Ndio
usitupe ovyo ovyo, uitupe kwa dustbin.
Ndio. Asante sana, shukran kabisa, na usisahau kwamba hashtag ni Friday, na umeshaweza kusikia kutoka H-Town kids. These kids are absolutely phenomenal and amazing, spreading that message of hope and ensuring that we are able to keep safe from the coronavirus. But I just want to see what you've been saying on social media, seeing that our topic today is all about how the coronavirus is affecting the showbiz industry, this big industry, and what can be really done to cushion this industry. So I'm actually looking at a few of the comments here. I can see Gadu wa Skylink Olkalau. Thank you very much for watching. And you are saying that we'll be watching. It's high time the online platforms like YouTube, Tubidi, Skiza to pay their clients fairly and accordingly. So perhaps we'll be able to actually find out a little bit more about what can be done to tap into the online platform during this time. And I can see here Bwaku Joseph. Thank you very much for watching. You're saying it's time to exploit online market, but the problem in Africa, this is a field where less attention has been accorded. So clearly, if less attention has been accorded, we'll be able to hear from different people. Later on, of course, we'll be hearing from Nigeria and Uganda and even Rwanda to see how their governments, what their governments are doing to cushion this industry and what the key players are doing. And as for now, remember the hashtag is Friday. You can text me on 22047 or at TV47KE and at Lucci_Riley, and on my page, that's Lucci Riley. Let's talk and let's interact and let's talk about this very, very key and important industry. But for now, I want to throw it back to my H-Town kids so that they can do a little bit more of the performance as we set the pace for tonight's discussion centered around how we can cushion this showbiz industry. So stay with me.
Coronavirus COVID-19 is a respiratory virus spreading across the world. The infection is spread from droplets of coughing and sneezing of an infected person, touching or shaking hands or being in contact with contaminated surfaces or objects with the virus. The signs and symptoms are fever, coughing, headache, body ache, difficulty in breathing. The disease can be prevented by regularly washing hands with soap and running water. Avoid close contact with people who have flu-like symptoms. Avoid handshake, hugs, and kissing. Also, protect yourself by covering your mouth or nose using a disposable tissue while coughing or sneezing. If you experience these symptoms and you had traveled or been in contact with a person from a country reporting COVID-19, you should isolate yourself for 14 days and seek immediate medical attention or report to the nearest health center. This message has been brought to you by the government of Kenya and its partners. For accurate information on COVID-19, dial *719# or call 719. Follow us on Twitter at MOH_Kenya, at spokesperson GOK, at WHO.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for choosing to join us right here on TV47. Remember, the hashtag for tonight is Friday, and we are going to be discussing on the coronavirus or COVID-19's effect on the showbiz industry. Of course, world over, we've seen that so many events, and big events for that matter, have been cancelled, including locally. And we just want to engage a few of the key players on what exactly is the real situation on the ground and what can be done to be able to cushion this particular situation as it's ongoing and it's uncertain how long it will be for. So I'm just going to start from my nearest right end. Thank you so much for joining us once again. I have a very beautiful and vibrant panel. I got to interact with them, and I'm going to start with yourself, Frank Ware, who is the director of 33 Beats. Thank you so much for joining me. Then I've got with me Valentine Ziki, who's a director and board member at Prisk, PRISK. And then finally, I've got Chris Kira, who is the COO of Kate Chris Limited. Karibuni sana. How are you all doing today? It's Friday. How are you all doing?
We're good.
Yes.
Trying to be enthusiastic.
Yeah? Are you happy that you're here despite the recommendation and directive of, avoiding moving around in crowded places and that kind of thing? Are you happy to be here?
Yeah, we're glad to be out of the house.
Yes.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. And so we've seen world over, so many things have been happening, and you've seen that the government locally here, right here in Kenya, has made strides to cushion the business sector and the health sector and so on and so forth. But so maybe I can start with yourself, Frank. How is the situation on the ground when you look at it as at right now? What is really the situation? What's being done? What needs to be done? What is the real state of, now that the coronavirus is here with us in Kenya?
Yeah. I think I'll start off with in terms of what has been happening the last week.
Yes.
So we have seen quite a lot of events actually cancelled. Okay. And then also this has impacted equally if you look at buzz, and I'm speaking specifically to the DJ community. So a lot of clubs, pubs are also being very cautious in terms of how well they can then advertise some of the events they do. So the theme nights, a lot of outlets have actually been able to cut that one down completely. So it has been a very low-key week for DJs and DJ industry. All in all, yes.
Yeah, and seeing that it's been a very low, there are not many events, and so a lot of these DJs and musicians and artists and even event organizers like yourself depend a large part on this particular gigs and events, right? And so I just want to throw this over to Chris Kira.
Yeah.
Who are the most affected when you look at it, and what can they do?
I think you have to be able to break it down, but the people who felt hit immediately when this started are the people who we employ on temporary contracts. And in case of events, you're looking at setup crew, you're looking at brand ambassadors, you're looking at the people that you give a temporary contract for like maybe a week, 2 weeks. So immediately a client says they've canceled the event, of course you disengage. So that means they are not going to get any money. So I belong to Event Managers Association of Kenya. If I get an event, like now as we had 2 events that were cancelled, one concert and another a conference. So every event manager, when they get an event, 10 members of Event Managers Association of Kenya will benefit from it. Because I'll get the event, but I cannot be able to supply everything. So there's someone who was supposed to probably supply furniture. It can be a company that was supposed to supply all that furniture, someone who was supposed to supply sound, there's someone who was supposed to do catering services, security services. He's mentioned the DJs. You can imagine the whole lineup of artists. Licenses, of course, to the government, taxes. You have even PRISC, whom we need to pay to be able to do these events. So the chain is so huge that you can't even imagine, because even everybody that I mentioned in that category, if it's maybe a company like Protel Studios who are supposed to be, you know, covering the event, it's very simple for them to now earn money from me, but now they're not earning any money from me. The person who was supplying me with maybe even cakes, maybe it's a cake, and there's a company that was supposed to bring the cake, and that person has employees, 2 or 3 of them, that are supposed to just get a wage out of the supply of that cake. Those guys are not earning. So it's a very easy conversation when you say, let's stock up. There's someone who survives on less than $1 a day. I don't know how they're supposed to be stocking up.
Yeah. And maybe you can just throw this over to Valentine. What is the situation globally? I mean, you've heard that you know, Chris Kira has talked about how globally, you know, if you're thinking about people who have to survive on less than $1 a day, and also those who are contracted temporarily are the most affected. What about globally? What is the situation?
Well, I've been seeing via the social media, you have countries such as UK, Germany, the United States. They have welfare programs for persons who work within the creative industry and freelancers. So you're seeing they're providing packages for this group of people, which is a means of trying to intervene in a time of emergency. And for us here in Kenya, I've not seen anything related to the creative industry. We've seen packages going to the healthcare industry, of course, the healthcare and other industries, including the flowers and whatnot. But for the creative industry, there's still something that needs to be done. We are unspoken for. And it feels like it's a very delicate time. Like if we don't intervene, then we'll be leaving a huge group of people just lying around with nothing to do, number one, and with no money or way of making their earnings, or even trying to survive and stock up. Like Chris said, fine, you can be told to stock up and prepare, but you need a certain amount of resources to do that. We can definitely tell that this group of people will suffer the most.
Right.
Yeah.
And so right now I want us to actually cross over to Michael Kwagza, who is an events manager all the way in Nigeria, who's actually felt this particular impact, and he's been able to actually lose big business, you know, big business and big US dollar millions of money. But even as we cross over, it's interesting to see that Valentine, you spoke about, you know, welfare programs, and seeing that we don't know if this is achievable right here, because the focus is on business and it's on health and just staying at home and making sure you are in a safe position. And this is the bread and butter for most of those who are participating every day in this industry. So let's just cross over right now to Michael Kwagza and see what he has to say on this matter.
Well, Michael Kwagza, all the way from Nigeria, good to see you there. We just want to understand, you know, knowing that right now there's the issue of the coronavirus, and of course many major events have been cancelled globally and also in the African region. What's happening right now in Nigeria?
Okay, what is happening here in Nigeria, like you rightly said, it's it's a global concern, and every event in Nigeria has been cancelled, put on hold, postponed. It's been really affecting business here. So because it's a global concern, most of the organizations we work with are multinational, and they're looking at it from a global perspective. No company, no association wants to be mentioned with the COVID-19 virus, and it's really biting hard here. Yeah.
All right, if you can just tell me, what's the Nigerian government doing to cushion the industry, especially when it comes to musicians, the events organizers? What's the government doing to make sure that they're not affected in a very major way?
Okay, part of the measures government is taking here is, for them, life is important. So for now, all events, all seminars, exhibition, musical concerts, and all that has been asked to put on hold. Even schools are shutting down. Schools are shutting down. Exams that are meant to be held are shutting down also. So for now, that's we don't have major cases. We have only 8. The federal government through the Federal Minister of Health says we have 8 cases of coronaviruses. So they are taking extreme measures to make sure that it doesn't spread further.
Well, I just want to find out, what is the feeling from, other events managers, musicians who have been affected, who cannot go for the usual gigs that they usually have, so that, they may be able to make some money. What's the feeling from most of them right now?
The feeling is so sad. It's very bad, but there's nothing anyone can do about it. Personally, I have lost like a $222,000 business this March. So if I lose that amount of money, or I've been asked to hold the event till further notice, then I wonder what other colleagues in the industry will be feeling. So it's a really sad one here in Nigeria, and but most importantly, life first.
All right, Michael, just finally, are there any steps perhaps that the government, or even the societies that are maybe in charge of taking care of artists or events management, corporate companies or something like that, is there something they're doing to make sure that the artists are able to have some money in their pockets to keep them going?
Government is trying. I think what they are doing is to dig, the event managers is to dig deep into what they have saved before. For now, there is absolutely nothing anyone can do about it, because government has put policies in place. For example, they banned even travel from UK, from US, from Germany, from Korea. They banned people from coming in. So you can see that this is a very stringent measures. So whatever you have, it's what you have to eat now, for now. If not, there is no major gig happening, no event happening. Stores, hyper stores are even closing down. They've just sent a memo that we should withdraw all our merchandisers and promoters from the store. So you can see everywhere is being affected. Everybody is taking precautionary measures to make sure that they avoid the spread of this coronavirus.
Well, thank you so much. Michael Kwadza there from Nigeria, an events manager, just telling us exactly the situation in Nigeria, especially now that we have had the coronavirus cases being announced in different African countries and, of course, globally. And that's definitely, as Michael has given us, the situation in Nigeria. Back to you, Riley.
Right, thank you very much for that, Leangari. And so I just want to throw that over to Chris Kirio. What are your comments on, the current ongoing situation, even from a continental perspective, all the way from Nigeria?
The interesting thing, I did my internship in Nigeria.
Okay.
The person who was hosting me was Michael.
Oh.
Yeah, we know each other. So it's something that we've been discussing. And
yes.
Like he says, right now, I think this is all new to everybody.
Yes.
I think we should be... Each one of us should be having pen and paper and write how I survived Corona, impact on business, because it's very new to everybody. Obviously, if you are to set aside resources to be able to cushion businesses. You cannot select one. You have to think across the board. So we are not the only guys who are being affected by this. It's everyone. And there's a chain reaction. Me not having business, my concert being cancelled, if you calculate, maybe 500 people will be affected by that indirectly. There are even people that I don't know because I paid her, and she paid someone who paid someone who paid someone. So I think for the first time, the entire world is in one place, staring at this crisis that for Kenya, for example, is just begun. So I think a lot of case studies needs to be done in countries like China, of course, where it originated from, and to see, I would like to see how they are going to survive it and start normal business. And I'm looking at it this way, it's taken them 4 months. How long will it take them to actually now start doing normal business of what they've been doing as a Chinese government? Because most of us import our stuff from there. So a case in study is I have a friend who had imported a whole megadome because every year once you've made money from your clients, two things happen. You invest some, you pump back to the business to try and improve what you have. So if you had a tent, you decide to have a better tent. If you had sound, you're improving your sound. If you had furniture, you improve your furniture. That's what a lot of the events managers do.
Right.
Then if it's somebody who bakes a cake, probably you need to buy a better baking machine.
Yeah.
So now all that is stuck overseas. And you had already taken a loan to commit to, or it's stuck somewhere in a port.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden, there is a freeze. You can't just move.
You can't just, maybe just to cut you short a little bit, I want to hear from Frank.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of event organizers take loans and actually go out of the way just to make an event work. And now this is something we weren't prepared for. The world wasn't ready. You know, so just even commenting back on what our colleague from Nigeria said, that he's lost a lot of thousands of dollars. I take back, I said millions, thousands of dollars just planning an event. Perhaps you can even comment and talk about what now can people do. I mean, being an event organizer, perhaps you know what it means to organize and plan an event. What is the way forward?
So I think, Lucy, we're actually in uncharted waters, but that's actually the truth. Chris has said it. None of us know what is going to happen in the next week, month, probably can even longer than that. And it's actually true. So the level of investment people should actually put behind these businesses is quite significant. And I mean, it's only through gigs that we do get that can be able to actually pay back some of those loans and borrowed money.
Right.
So it means it actually calls for guys to really come back and see and ask yourself very, very difficult questions. So there's what we strongly feel as an industry the government can be able to do. So as we're thinking about obviously helping the healthcare sector, the SMEs, how then do you also make sure that within that conversation having with the government authorities, then what is some of the aid, or even what can we suggest that as an industry can be able to help guys to cushion themselves? Because it's actually true, a lot of us are going to go weeks on end without gigs, without businesses. I think personally for me, I actually even say, so I work very closely with a lot of corporate clients as well, who have actually been going out and literally cancelling every other day. Even the ones that sometimes we feel might not be cancelled, so it could be something as simple as a gig inside a bar that is fairly small and can be contained. However, because of the scare that is happening now, the directors around, so start Monday from 7:30, there's no more operations going out, even in the local bars. That again impacts even the smaller businesses that a lot of us do here. So I think it calls for a stop and think, number one, for me. Then number two is also how then do you also engage the authorities to come and also help sustain the industry. Because we don't want, I think when the virus is said and done, then we find that the industry ideally has collapsed. It would be a very unfortunate place to be in.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting if you look at maybe Valentine, you can actually talk to us about this. When you look at West Africa, I just actually noticed that one artist, that's Starboy, he actually has a soap business. And it's thriving now more than ever, you know. And is this maybe a call to say that artists, other than what musicians, artists, actors, songwriters, scriptwriters, producers, and so on and so forth do, they should also be looking into other streams of income over and above, you know, what it is that is their bread and butter?
Yeah, that would be great, with the exception that it takes a form of capital to diversify. And as you well know, creatives in this country are undercapitalized. And then also we are not able to walk into banking institutions to get loans because we don't have collateral. So usually for creatives, as far as I know and as far as research shows, we rely mostly on online loans, the likes of Tala, Branch. And right now you can imagine that has not even been spoken about. And if someone was probably borrowing that money based on a gig that's coming up and then the gigs are cancelled, then it means they've been left at a very precarious position. So it would be great to say we can diversify and probably look for other income streams, but it's not very practical. And then also speaking as Prisk, we had anticipated that this year would be a fantastic year for collection of royalties. Granted that the government had come in to at least try and increase the number of users who would comply and pay the licenses as they should. And we're really hopeful that would at least get to the 2 billion mark. But right now, as things stand, we are unable to project at least the next 3 months based on the fact that our users are the same people who have all of these businesses. So how are they going to come up with that licensing money? And if we get to a point where we are not operating at all, it means that we are not collecting on behalf of the artists. It means that our staff who assist us in our collections would also suffer. And they would also, of course, now in overall, our members would not also receive their royalties as they should. So there's a bigger impact, but it's safe to say, which is not necessarily the best position that we like taking, that creatives at this point in time are really struggling to find a way out, or even to find means to make it out, or to even project maybe the next 3 months financially.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Valentine. And it's around about that time where I have to take a short break. But when we come back, still to come is, tapping into the online space, as some of the viewers have been commenting online. And of course, we've got a few other exciting things that we'll be doing. So please do stay with us. Remember, the hashtag to join this conversation with is Friday. And you can also send in your text messages to 22047. You can also call in on the number that appears on the bottom right of your screen. Remember, tonight, our topic of discussion is how can we cushion the showbiz industry despite or in spite of the current ongoing worldwide pandemic of coronavirus. Do stay with us and please don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Fridays, the only primetime bulletin that brings to you everything about the showbiz industry and tries to, analyze and find solutions towards what's ailing this particular industry. And today we've been talking about the effects of coronavirus in the showbiz industry and how the government and you at home who is actively participating in this field can actually be able to cushion yourself when it comes to now the effects that have been seen world over with the coronavirus. Now, we want to first start off by crossing over all the way to Uganda. I've got with me Dr. Ronnie Mitch from Uganda, who's an events manager. You popularly know him from Tusker Project fame, and he's got quite a few comments and remarks to make regarding the same. So let's listen in. Leangare has more on that.
All right, Riley, we're now joined by Dr. Mitch Egwang, who is all the way in Uganda. He's also an events manager, and he's here with us to tell us exactly what's happening in Uganda, considering that there's the issue of the coronavirus, and of course, many events have been cancelled. Dr. Mitch, if you can hear me, just tell us what's the situation in Uganda as it is right now, considering the whole outbreak of coronavirus?
Well, I think, honestly, what our government has done is that they're reiterating the plight of most countries, and we're all very scared down to our britches, and we've had cancellations across the board, minus the event sector. I think let's start first because the company that I work for is a marketing and events firm. All of our FMCG clients have actually closed shop. They're probably still producing products and brands are still coming out on the shelves, but in terms of promotions, activations, they've put a lull, or actually in some cases a total stop for the next 60 to 90 days. So they need to be sure that the virus has been controlled. I think it was 2 days ago that the president went on air and said that for 32 days, we want no mass gatherings, no promotions, nobody's going to church, bars have been closed down. So the impact is far reaching. It's not just the event sector, but hospitality as a whole. We're all in a very tight spot.
All right, so, but generally looking at the showbiz industry, which also touches on the events industry, basically, what are people planning to do there in terms of perhaps musicians, events organizers who have lost lots of money because their events have been cancelled? What action are they hoping to take to cushion themselves?
Well, I think one of the things is a number of event managers who are more strategic in their thinking saw this coming and had already started having discussions with the venues and with sponsors. And I think we've started seeing people already postponing the dates of certain events. Certain individuals had taken out a little bit of insurance, but the majority are just sitting ducks in the water, and we're waiting to see. Others have actually decided to innovate. There are guys who hold a weekly comedy show. So they said that if you can't come to us, we're actually going to come to you. So what they're doing is that they're doing a comedy show online. So you just log in and you can still get your laughs. So I think that's a great innovation. But for the rest of us, I've seen in different countries, in the US, I think in the UK, that they've got stimulus packages and they've been able to get some sort of support from the government. Here, I don't really think that's going to happen. The primary challenge we're having is healthcare right now. So I think they're going to get the lion's share of any funding or any support. So we're taking care of ourselves, man. It's dog eat dog here in Uganda.
And just finally, as we come to the end of this discussion, Mitch, what do you think will be the future for the showbiz industry, even as we wait for the coronavirus to be contained and perhaps hopefully get a cure for the same?
Wow. I have to tell you that showbiz thrives on people. We need people, we need interaction, we need to be able to share experiences. And if we can't share experiences, we're going to have to totally redefine and to rethink, to innovate. I've never seen as much digital chatter as I'm seeing now. So I'm seeing a future where, well, we're going to have less shaking of hands, hugging and kissing, and more WhatsApping and digital messaging and communication on platforms. That's where I see it's going.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mitch Egwang there from Uganda. We appreciate your views and comments about the issue of the showbiz industry being affected. We hope you keep safe, by the way.
All right. No, I washed my hands before this interview. I'm going to wash my hands right after.
All right, thank you so much. Well, Riley, as you have heard there, that's Dr. Mitch Egwang all the way from Uganda. He's an events manager, and there he's shared a few insights on what Uganda is doing to cushion the showbiz industry. Of course, things don't look so good, but we hope they will change as the days go by. Well, back to you, Riley.
Right, thank you very much for that, Leangare. And just commenting on perhaps what Dr. Mitch has actually just said, you know, the future where, you know, we don't actually interact. Yeah. And do you agree with what he says that, you know, we're moving so much so to digital space? And what do you feel about how the events are being done, for example, the comedy shows being done online? Maybe I can start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's changing times.
Yeah.
And this, again, can go on for God knows how long, I'm very sure. So what we know is that, well, humanity is resilient. That's for sure. And obviously, we'll always find ways to basically survive and make do with what you get. So life gives you lemon, you make lemonade. So yes, I totally agree with the doctor. I know that not even probably, I see this in the very near future, whereby digital becomes a platform that most of us are going to use in terms of talking to our patrons, our followers, you know, and even for us, we are trying to even think around. So is there an opportunity, something as crazy as we talked about during the break, around even holding, say for example, a concert of sorts?
Yes.
Because the guys are going to be obviously at home on their devices, streaming on the TVs. Then what is the content that you're going to be able to also show guys while you're there sitting at home, probably bored, stiff? So definitely, I think the future is going to be very interesting, how things unfold.
Maybe I can throw this over to Chris Kira. You know, going back to this comment that one viewer has made regarding it's high time the online platforms such as YouTube, Tubidy, Skiza to pay their clients fairly and accordingly. Let's just talk about the online space right now, because while some industries right now are going to be suffering and people are going to be finding it a little bit difficult, there's some industries that are going to be booming. Those who've already been vloggers and YouTubers right now are making a lot of money. So could you just talk a little bit about that?
You see, I agree with him, and I also agree with Mitch, but for you to have proper experience, you have to travel. So many of us events managers look forward to traveling to a gig of Tomorrowland and experience what those guys are doing. I'm sure guys of Chris look at those numbers and they're like, we wish Kenya we can be able to attain 100,000 people, because that's good money for them, for their members. The same thing with us. If I can be able to do a gig like that, that means now I'll bring Mitch to come and MC. And actually Mitch has MC'd in our events. We've actually brought him here and we pair him with another MC and he makes money. And shortly, someone is benefiting in Uganda courtesy of my gig. So back to your question of online platform, I think that's where we are headed. I don't know, maybe in 10 years to come, he's playing music at home and guys are listening to him across the world and they actually paid for it. Or you have a concert in a studio somewhere, it's being just live streamed live and guys are enjoying it. It's already happening. I mean, not all of us are able to go and fit in Tokyo to watch the Olympics, but everybody watches it. 1 billion people will watch it. Diamond League, you know, UEFA, whichever sports you talk about. I am a big F1, supporter. And now for us to have waited for 3-4 months and then they cancel. And then you can imagine the kind of losses they were looking at. Once those tires have been transported to that venue, they cannot be reused. So they had to transport them back to go burn them in a factory and I think use them to power some boiler or something like that. So you can imagine the kind of losses that people are going to be experiencing. And I know you've asked me about online, but I'm jumping back to the losses because probably that's where we are. It's crazy. But like in IMA, there is something now we are doing on online where each one of us is researching and saying, what are the case studies on each country? What are they doing to try survive this? And so because we are in one group of Event Managers Association of Kenya, we are sharing these experiences. And it's a dipstick in each other country. Like now I've been talking to Mitch, I've been talking to Mike, I've been talking to someone in South Africa. But the interesting thing is that everybody does not know what the future holds. For the first time, everybody is hitting a wall. I'm not seeing that happen. Most of the time, because we're event managers, the client will always tell you, make a plan. Even in a crazy situation, and somehow you come up with a plan. Right now, you tell me to make a plan, I am hesitant to say yes.
And sorry to cut you short right now. Of course, we're seeing that this might even be one of the biggest economic crackdown, so to speak, since time immemorial. And so we just want to cross over to Rwanda now and get some feedback. And just before we cross over, we just also want to make this comment that one of our panelists, which was Bien Baraza, he wasn't able to make it because he had developed a few symptoms, and so it's really commendable that he would choose to self-quarantine himself and stay at home, even though he hasn't quite yet gotten the results on that. So, of course, we wish you a quick recovery. So we're crossing over right now to Diana, who is in Rwanda and who's going to give us a few insights on how the showbiz industry is doing there.
Now taking it all the way from Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya, we are joined by Remigius. Lubega.
Yeah.
Yes, an event planner here in Kigali, Rwanda. Now, thank you so much for having this interview with us.
Thank you, Dan. It's a pleasure to be on 47.
All right. Yeah. So can you briefly tell us how has this coronavirus outbreak affected events in Rwanda, and also how has it affected you as an event planner and organizer?
Well, the effect is so big, for sure. You know, Rwanda is a MICE destination lately, and that's the strategy, to make as many events as possible, and conferences and shows and events. And since the outbreak of the news of the virus, everything has put on hold. Everything has been postponed. Of course, some of us who have events which are monthly, we plan out like 2 years ahead. We're feeling the heat. We're feeling the heat because of some of the artists that we're booking, or the people that we're working with are already paid some time back, and cancelling and refunding is quite an issue. Yeah. So the heat is really hard, and it has economically impacted us negatively on that. But what to do? Precaution first, life first. Then you can say anything else. Yeah.
Are there any specific events that have been cancelled? Can you briefly tell us, because you're running out of time, can you tell us the number of events that have been cancelled so far?
Well, there are quite many. Oh, government events, conferences have been cancelled, have been put on hold. Private shows have been put on hold. We had a Kigali Jazz Junction event, which was supposed to be in end of March with Timaya. We had to cancel that. We had one Kigali Property Bazaar and Shoppers Bazaar, which was up actually running, which is supposed to be running this week, is all gone. We had the gospel shows, which actually were announced on the day that they were supposed to be happening at the Kigali Arena, in Nara Arena. They were all cancelled. So it's quite a number. It's quite a number of events that have been affected. And Igol Mbano's show, I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Remy, for the comments you've shared with us.
Thank you very much.
Right. Back to you, T47 in Kenya.
Thank you very much for that, Diana. And perhaps now I just want to cross this over and finally finish this up with yourself, Valentine. You know, it seems like little prominence has been given to this industry. And, you know, is this really the situation? And now, what can be done to cushion this industry, especially from a state point of view, the government? What can it do? And even those who are key players who are depending on this every day, you know, bread and butter. What can be done? And then we can take it off from you and get a takeaway from everyone tonight.
I would hope the government would look into forming some sort of relief fund for the creative industry and for freelancers as well, and to consider the value that this group of people bring to the corporate world, because maybe that has been the issue so far. The government is unable to see or exactly point out to data that says this industry brings in this amount or contributes this much to the GDP. But as far as research shows, this has been a very huge employer for young people, for the youth. This is where you'll find the youth. This is a space that has been able to bring about so much and so many opportunities. And in as much as we're asking for creatives and all of these people to try and adapt to something new, you know, extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures, well and good, but we will need to see some sort of contingency plan, which so far I don't feel the government has given or has even considered. So I hope that out of the 7.4 billion that was released today by CBK, that such considerations will be made.
Thank you very much. Let me just hear from yourself, Keith.
Yes, I think for me, so two things. One is the situation that we're currently in. So I think it calls for a lot of us in the industry to be very innovative in what you're trying to
innovate.
Yes, exactly. So we know we do have platforms that exist out there. So now we can be able to always try and create something. So the online platform is very key for me. The digital space also shows quite a big opportunity there. I think second for me is, and again, just echoing what Valentine is saying, is about, I think we really need to, the government needs to come in. And
the
really,
government should come in.
Yes, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry for that. And now I just want a final comment from yourself, Chris Kira.
I think the key thing is don't cancel, postpone. And once we are back, once the coast is clear, government come in, all of us, all the stakeholders, sit down and say, how do we survive this as a country, as East Africa, as a region, and Africa as a continent? Because we are interlinked. And if, you'll find a multinational who will want to do an event or an activation across 6 countries.
Yes.
So if that multinational decided now because of the coronavirus they're not going to do it, it affects all of us. So I think this is an opportunity for us to network more. So as IMAC, Event Manager Association of Kenya, we are reaching out to our members and of course those who are outside our membership to be able to say, how are we going to survive this?
All right.
But it takes resources.
And it takes resources.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. And so with that being said and done, a lot has been spoken and a lot has been said tonight. And we obviously hope that the government will take into consideration all the recommendations that have been made today. And even individuals who are in this space can perhaps listen to what key players are talking across the continent. And so because of my time and my director is telling me we can't take another break, we're going to dive right into our games section right now. So we need to have a little bit of fun, break the ice, because we're about to usher in the weekend, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to ask you some random questions and you will have to answer me truthfully.
Okay.
Is that okay? Do you need a breather?
Nobody prepared.
Nobody prepared. You're not supposed to be prepared.
We will try.
We will try. All right. Okay.
Is there an option for pass?
There is no option for pass. You must answer.
Is there an option for passing it over to...
No,
Okay.
absolutely not. So let's just dive right into it. I want to start with Valentine. Okay, so Valentine Zeki, who is your favorite celebrity couple? Who is your favorite celebrity couple?
Oh, okay. I would say Beyonce and Jay-Z because of how they make money.
Okay.
It's a cool...
Fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. I sometimes wonder even if this couple is experiencing what the rest of the world is experiencing, seeing how much money they make.
Yeah, I'm sure they're actually experiencing losses because they do tours, so yeah.
It's very interesting. My director's even telling me, we recently saw Idris Elba talking about how he has it.
Yes.
So no one is safe at home. Please make sure you quarantine yourself and even make sure you use the right measures. Now, finally, sanitize. Thank you. Frank?
Yes.
This is for you.
Okay.
Which celebrity ignored your text or your call? Which celebrity ignored your text or call? You can say it right now because they're listening and they apologize after the COVID.
Okay, wow. I think I would have to say John Farmer.
Oh, okay. Why?
But that was a while back. That was a long time ago. So,
Yeah.
Yes. Right now, we're really good friends.
Yes.
Water under the bridge.
What did he ignore? What did you text him or
Actually, it was a call. So I called him a couple of times. Didn't call back.
Yeah.
I thought that was a bit rude.
Okay, so now you're good. Okay, Chris Kiro, this is for you, and prepare your throat, prepare your accent. How are you, baby? In Luo accent. How are you, baby? In Luo accent.
Sorry, say it in Luo
You
accent.
say it in Luo accent. How are you?
Baby. Itima ngo. Ifila ngo. It feels nice,
Yeah. All right, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think you did quite well. Don't you think? Do you agree? Do you think you did well?
Yeah.
Yeah?
On the Jay-Z issue that you said, there are certain altitudes you fly, turbulence doesn't disturb you.
Okay. All right. Yes, we didn't expect that. And so maybe a bonus question to you.
Yeah.
What behavior is done by millennials that you cannot stand? What behavior is done by millennials that you just absolutely cannot stand?
I think their concentration span
Yes.
is short sometimes,
Okay, sometimes.
as that of a certain animal that is being chased, and then it reaches somewhere and stops because it's forgotten why it was being chased.
Yeah.
So I think that if they could try and work on that, I'd be a very happy person.
You'd be a very happy person. All right.
Concentration span.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for that. My very amazing panel tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching Friday. It's right here with me, Lucci Riley. And you can always continue this discussion on the TV47 page. That's at TV47KE on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Instagram or on my page. That's Lucci Riley. Now up next, we have got Marcus Okello with Club 47. It's literally a party. So please, as the directive has been made, do not go out there and celebrate in crowded areas. You can stay right at home and have some fun, because right here on TV 47, we care about your needs, and you should have a good time tonight on Club 47. So until next time, goodbye.